Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, we're rolling. It's Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan, and with me, as always, is my buddy James. Basically, we're just a couple of dudes hanging out, sipping on some whiskey, and talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Tonight's episode 28, and we're going to be providing a recap of last weekend's Super Wild Card weekend, as well as our game picks for the upcoming divisional playoff round. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It could be better. I mean, you kind of spanked me last week, but hey, we're here. We're still hanging out. We're still having a good time. So, I'll take it. Plus, it's Friday night. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, before we dive into our recap of last weekend's games, rather, in the news around the week, let's do name that stadium. And so, this is the part of the show where we explain to our viewers, as you can see, James is traveling all around the country. He's got a stadium in his background, which is a stadium for one of the home teams playing this weekend. And basically, we're just asking our viewers that if you think you know what stadium it is, take a shot, throw your guess into the comments section. And if you're the first person to get it right, next week in our show, we're going to give you a special shout out. For this past week, we had a winner, James Rhodes. Congratulations, you got it right. James was out at the Seattle Seahawks Stadium, also known as Lumen Field. And so James is now our second two-time winner. Thank you for playing. I like that the competition is heating up with people hitting us up with their guesses. And, hey, we say it every week. It's like a broken record. One day, maybe we'll get a little bit of money from this thing. We'll buy some cool swag. We'll send out some bumper stickers or T-shirts or whatever, stress balls or whatever the heck people want to get. But for now, this is what we're doing. And James, it seems like every week you've kind of had a trend with picking a stadium based on what you felt was the best matchup for that week. If you hadn't already picked that stadium, was that the basically the same thing that you did for this past weekend?
It it was. Like the matchup that I thought was the best was the Tennessee Baltimore game, but I was already in Tennessee, so I went to which was my second best was Seattle, which also happened to be one of my big upsets that I had picked and I
Gotcha.
picked.
Yeah, and I tell you, I was looking at it. When I saw it, I could see the 12 off to the side, and so I was like, oh, hey, there's definitely a clue in there for people that are looking close enough, and you get that 12th man advantage out at Seattle. But how much of that has happened in this year? Apparently, not much.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, hey, moving on. Let's do a little bit of a recap of this past week, and before we jump into the games, which I'll kind of let you do most of the talking there since you spanked me on the picks. Let's just talk about some of the news with these head coach and GM signings. And so the first one I had a note on here is Urban Meyer locked in with the Jags. What'd you think about that move?
I I don't know. Like it's kind of hit or miss with college coaches jumping to the NFL. Like I mean, you have what's God, what's his name? Carroll in Seattle, who was successful, but you have a whole string of them that were unsuccessful. You had Steve Spurrier did it.
Oh
You
yeah,
had
Chip
Saban tried it.
Kelly. Yeah,
Saban, Chip Kelly. They were all good at the college level, and then sucked it
Harbaugh.
up in the NFL. Yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot about Harbaugh, but well, he's not that good at the college level anymore apparently either. So,
yeah. Things fell apart
but
for him. Yeah,
yeah, but so I and the other thing with Urban Meyer is he seems to get bored really quick,
yeah,
and the reason why I understood that he left Ohio State was because he was taking the losses so bad that it was stressing him out so much when he lost a game that it was giving him physical health problems. And he's going to lose probably. He had a great record at Ohio State. It was like 83-7 or something like that at Ohio State. He's
yeah.
probably going to lose seven games plus his first year, and that's not going to stress him out more.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The health thing was one of the things that stuck out for me, and I couldn't remember all the details of what happened. But I thought he left Florida for the same reason. He had some health thing, and then he ended up going to Ohio State. And after a couple of years there, that health thing kind of kicked back in, or a different health thing, whatever it was. But the stress was clearly a factor. And then with this one, it was weird because there was, public intel about basically the process being frustrating for the Jags. Like he wasn't totally committed to coming back to coaching, and and then there was a rumor just this past week that he might go out and interview with the Chargers. And so, I think for him, it was a good landing spot from the perspective of, he's got the number one pick and he can go out and grab Trevor Lawrence if that's what he wants to do. And hypothetically, he's coming in here and he's getting his franchise quarterback, a big name guy, which should get the fans excited. But this is definitely, like you said, I mean, it's a team that it has a lot of work to do, and you know, it's going to be, what are the odds he's going to turn around in year one? I mean, yeah, like you said, easily there could be 7 losses this year, maybe even more. But the one thing I took from it is just anybody looking for an offensive coordinator. Let's see what happens with Jay Gruden because I'm guessing Urban Meyer is bringing in his own team. That's one of the things that I've been hearing, which means Gruden could be available. And, it didn't work out for him as a head coach in Washington, but he was solid as a coordinator in Cincinnati, and he was a solid coordinator with Jacksonville. So, that's something to keep an eye on. So, let's talk here because obviously we got to talk about the Lions. What'd you think about Brad Holmes coming in as the new GM?
I was at first I was okay with it, and I'm even more excited about it the more I've read up on them. And like I've heard, like in the past, I've heard interviews with what's the GM in
Les Snead?
Les Snead, thank you, where he talks about how Holmes is really involved in the draft process, and he's in the draft room and breaking it down with them to see who they pick and helping decide who they pick. And I've read articles where he's like a young Ozzie Newsome, which I mean, he built Baltimore 2 different times to take him to take Super Bowl. So I'm actually optimistic that the Lions might have got this right. I know you were talking earlier that he's like number 4, number 5, below 4 or 5 tiers below the GM, but from everything I'm reading, he's really involved in the operations of the team, or was really involved in the operations of the team already, and for Los Angeles. So he's kind of been grooming for that spot as a GM.
Gotcha. Yeah, and what I heard, it was basically, multiple degrees of separation, but basically, yeah, I had heard that he didn't have a direct line to Les Snead, that he was multiple levels away from the GM position, and so just the hire to make him a GM, it was a little bit of a stretch. But we've seen this kind of career path with GMs before that come out of the scouting part of the game. And then on the scouting side, it's the same thing. I've heard a lot of mixed reports there too. That basically, I saw one that was talking him up about the Aaron Donald thing, saying that he's the guy that recommended that. And then I read another report that basically some other guy in the organization brought him that report and was like, "Hey, you really need to get them to listen to this. Aaron Donald's the guy." And he was the advocate. So it's like he took the information and he ran it up the flagpole, which is good. But then I've also heard, it's like similar stuff with like, Greg Robinson. I guess he was an advocate for bringing him in. And, you're not going to hit 100% of your picks. And so I don't want to like tear the guy apart. I just, as a Lions fan, I'm looking at every single piece of information coming in. And it's been, a mixed bag. There's been good stuff. There's been bad stuff. I definitely like hearing the young Ozzie Newsome thing. And then like one of the things I heard too is that people are basically speculating that because of his time under Les Snead, that he's going to be cut from that same cloth. And Les Snead has a tendency to either trade away their early picks for proven veterans, like he did with Jalen Ramsey, or trade them for more picks in the draft, hoping that they can basically scout their way to finding a diamond in the rough. Or he's done, traded a bunch of picks and gone up. And so, I guess it looks like he could be aggressive with moving around to get the guy that he thinks is best for the team. And so that it excites me. I think, we need something like that. But with him never had being a GM before, how savvy will he be at actually executing those kinds of moves? I'm hoping he figures it out because obviously I'm a Lions fan. But I would say the part that just upset me with it is that this whole time we kept hearing out of the Lions that they wanted to go for somebody with experience, and this is a 180 of that. We're taking a guy that it's a big promotion for him, and yeah, he looks like he's a good up and comer. But we've thought that with a lot of guys in the past, and we've been burned by it. So. But he's signed. It's a 5-year deal, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, and with what I hear out here from the national media is basically that it's like they love this pick, and I haven't heard national media like when they hired Quinn or whoever was like I didn't really hear the national media saying, "Oh, we love this guy. This guy's perfect," and for them to say that about Holmes, that gets me really excited about it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm glad that people outside of this area are saying positive things about it. That's definitely encouraging. So on the coach front, switching back to that, what'd you think about Saleh landing with the Jets?
Well, I can say that the Jets are not going to pick a quarterback in the draft. They're going to roll it back with Sam Darnold because from what I'm hearing with Saleh, which I love the hire, and I was hoping the Lions would hire him, he's
Yeah.
bringing LaFleur's younger brother,
Oh yeah.
who
Yeah.
is San Francisco as the offensive coordinator. And one of the things I was looking at when I look at Sam Darnold is the Jets were probably going to trade him away, and I thought San Francisco would be the perfect spot for him because I thought that offense in San Francisco really lended itself well to Sam Darnold's skill set. So now that you're bringing LaFleur in as your offensive coordinator, you're going to have that San Francisco offense. So you're probably going to roll it back for at least another year with Darnold.
So, the only thing I would say about that is that I've seen so many times in the past where a rookie head coach that comes in from defense or offense, whichever way, it always seems like their first draft, they go the first strike is the opposite of what their background is. And that makes me nervous for Saleh. Would he fall in that same trap where he's saying, I want my quarterback of the future, or I want to get him a weapon and get him a freaking sweet wide receiver or something because I can make it work on defense. I can get whoever and make it work on defense. I've seen so many guys do that,
Hmm.
and then it bites them in the ass. To me, it's like, hey, man, you're a solid defensive minded guy. Load up on that freaking defense. Make one of your units like top 10 and then worry about the offense once you get your side of it where you need it to be. But it always seems like they kind of fall into that trap where they're like, oh, I can make it work, and I'll go on the other side of the ball.
Yeah. So what I've been thinking with the Jets is I thought they were going to go either trade back and then get the QB later and trade away Sam Darnold, or they were going to go with the offensive lineman from Oregon.
Okay.
Uh, I can't remember his name. He didn't play this year because of
Yeah.
COVID. Or they would go with Smith Jones, the dude from Alabama that just won the Heisman
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
with with the number 2 pick. One of those two to get some either more protection for quarterback or get a real weapon out there. But I
Hmm.
really like what Douglas is doing with the Jets. Like he's getting those pieces here and there, and he's like he's not afraid to admit, well, I made a mistake there. Like the negotiations with I think Robbie Anderson, where he said I just misjudged the market on him. I wanted to keep him, but I misjudged what he could get, and that's why he went somewhere else. He's not afraid to admit I made a mistake with that.
Yeah, it's good to be honest about it. And, hopefully you're learning from those mistakes and you're getting better. With this hiring, hey, I'm really happy for the guy. Like you said, I wish we would have got him in Detroit. It's going to be an uphill battle for him with the Jets because obviously they're picking so high in the draft because they're a bad team. But it would have been an uphill battle for him in Detroit as well. So, to me, I look at what happened with Detroit and I'm just frustrated over all these mixed reports that we're hearing. And like with this guy in particular, like right out of the gate, they're like, oh, he had a great interview. And then like 2, 3 days later, it's like, oh no, it was a poor interview. And it's like, well, wait a minute, like who's coming up with this shit? Like we need some good, solid reporting, and let's have like a consensus. Was it good or not? Because that's important for the fans to know. And I don't know. I just think that the Lions, they've botched this whole offseason, and this is what the Lions do. And we just saw it the other day with Darrell Bevell saying the same thing that, they gave him a shot to interview for the head coaching position. And of course, right off the bat, a report comes out that it was a great interview. And then Bevell comes out sometime later saying how frustrating it is because the Lions are just moving so slow. And there's something going on with the communication and the timing of what they're doing that it's turning all these people off. And so it's like, man, like if we don't figure this shit out, we're just going to fucking swing and miss on anybody worth a damn, and we'll be left holding the bag with whoever's left. But, that actually brings me to my next point, which is my last one, or my next topic here, which is just, you know, Dan Campbell now is the front runner. And we were talking about this, I don't know, the other day or maybe earlier today. And everything I hear about this guy, he is highly respected by the players. And he's a great leader, which the Lions need desperately. Uh, you know, can he get a solid offensive coordinator and a solid defensive coordinator so that he can focus purely on leading the team? We see it in today's game where the head coach is almost always a play caller, whether it's on offense or defense. Can he buck that trend and be a guy? I mean, my dream scenario is like, hey, you get a guy like Gruden on offense, and you go out and you get Raheem Morris on defense, because obviously things aren't going to work for him in Atlanta now that they brought in Arthur Smith. Uh, it's obviously easier said than done, but to me, I would get excited about Dan Campbell if something like that came together. What do you think about that situation?
Well, I think possibly the Dan Campbell situation is why the Lions seem to be dragging their feet on it, because with the league rules, they can't interview him face to face until after the Saints are done with the playoffs.
It's true.
So they, and I think they're focusing in on him, and they think he's the guy. And like I told you, I kind of went out since I was hearing so much about him, and like I think it was Orlovsky tweeted something on how great of a leader he could tell he was back when he was on the Lions, and what was that, like
Oh yeah,
06,
it was a while
08 or
back.
something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. And then stuff, and he's how great of a leader he was, how great of a teammate he was, and like his current players out there talking about how great of a leader he was. And I think a hire like that could potentially change the culture in an organization. That's like why Washington hired Rivera, is because Rivera is renowned in the league as such a great leader.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you just need to change the culture first before you can start really winning and really going after what you need.
Yeah, and so I'm good with all that, and you know, I think I could get on board with him if we get the right coordinators to back him up and it's structured the right way. I've heard a lot of great things about him over the years. Going back to his time as the interim head coach in Miami, and then like you mentioned, even years ago when he was a backup tight end with the Lions. But it's like if this is going to be the case, they should have thought ahead of time and realized that there might be a head coach that they got to wait on. And maybe they focus on the GM process first and then do the head coach after. And instead, they kind of like went in parallel, running them both down at the same time. And I think that just clusterfucked the whole thing, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I mean, plus on top of that, it's like, don't you want your new GM to have a hand in picking the head coach? I like that whole thing just kind of, I don't know, like to me, they just had this whole thing like ass backwards. Just my opinion, man.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot. Like, I think it was last week I texted you that I was hearing that the Lions wanted to hire their GM before they hired the coach. So they had to figure out who was going to be their GM first.
Yeah,
Like, why are you doing the interviews if you're
yeah.
not going to hire the guy?
Exactly. It's like you guys did not have a very clear strategy when you knew that this was a critical point in the franchise to get the shit straight and have some clarity and let everybody know that you actually know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, shit, man, do what Philly did and bring in a guy like Dorsey to basically consult you through the process so that you end up on your feet. And, uh, I don't know. We might get there, but it was like a just like a totally ass backwards, bouncing all around the place kind of way of doing it. And so, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But here's the thing. One name that I haven't heard come up, Matt Patricia. I go back to when we fired his ass, and Ian Rappaport was quick to jump on. Oh, Matt Patricia is going to get some interest in teams this year now that they know he's available. Bullshit, man. Seems to me like if you want to actually get some serious consideration when you take a borderline playoff team into the fucking crapper, I don't know, man. You got to actually make a team better. When you go the wrong way, you fall out of favor. You don't get another head coach job. You go back to being a coordinator, and you got to work your way back up again.
Yeah, another name I haven't heard come around is McDaniels in New
Yeah.
England. Like, nobody's talking about the Belichick assistants.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, your offense fell on its face this year without Tom Brady, and now all of a sudden you're not that prized possession like you were in years past. Maybe you should have took that job with Indy instead of bouncing out at the last minute after you already committed to them verbally or whatever the heck happened there. But
Yeah,
good for Indy though. By the way, I think Frank Reich was the better pick for them. But it's just a shame that McDaniels did some shit like that.
yeah, exactly. And I don't with him, I can't see him getting another head coaching job unless opportunity unless it's with New England.
Yeah, he's at this point I think got to be banking on just being the successor for Belichick.
Yeah, which rumor had it then when he flaked on Indy that, you know, Kraft and Belichick sat him down and said, listen, just hang out a couple more years and you'll be our head coach. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I like this better, and not realizing that Brady was bouncing.
Yep. Yep. Well, it makes sense, and sometimes you can't predict those things with the players, but when you're on a perennial winner, I think the path is there. If you're patient, you're taking over a winning team. Where most of these head coaches, when they go and get their first gig, they got to start with somebody that's on the losing side of it, which is why the opening's available. And so I think, his situation in New England, I mean, that's like a dream scenario as long as you can be patient.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough of that. I'm rambling. Let's get to the games for this past week. So, as you heard me say, and as you're well aware, it was the first ever Super Wild Card Weekend, and despite some pretty heavily favored games, there was a lot of action, man. And if you were like me, you ended up on the wrong side of that action. If you were like you, James, and you were bold with some of your picks, you're relishing in those decisions. And so, why don't you give me, some of your highlights from these games, man? Give me a little bit of the good, the bad, the ugly, man.
So for the ugly or the bad, well, it's kind of a mix of all of them. I didn't think the Bills looked as good as they are, and they still pulled out that game. They had to fight it down to the wire, but I thought they did well. I really liked McDermott's timeout on the Pascal fumble to give the booth time to call down to review the play, I think it was completely off, and
Hmm.
I think it was clearly a fumble. But I, you know, who knows what the replay booth looks at some of these plays. It's like everybody in America, everyone around the world who understands anything about football can clearly see that dude caught the ball going to the ground, wasn't touched, got back up and was lunging, trying to get
Yeah,
more yards, and
yeah,
fumbled the ball. It's like, how do you say that it wasn't a fumble?
I'm with you.
Another good aspect, I thought Heineke, however you pronounce his name, I thought he looked really good against Tampa Bay. He didn't really succumb to the pressure. He was mobile. He was elusive. He was throwing like there was one throw that he made that, of course they have the camera zoomed in on Tom Brady, and Tom Brady turns around and you can see him saying that's freaking unbelievable. Like how the hell did he make that pass? Which is I think he might be or has a chance to be the quarterback for Washington coming into next year, or get another job somewhere else if Washington doesn't bring him back. And he was signed by Washington. I think I read he was signed like the beginning of December by Washington, and he ends up starting the playoff game and played pretty well and had Washington in it. Um, Unfortunately, that was the game I got wrong. I thought Washington was gonna win the game and continue the trend of sub 500 division winners winning the first round of the playoffs. Lamar Jackson looked really good, I thought. He's looked good before in the playoffs, but they haven't just gotten over the hump and won the game. I mean, they started out down, I think it was 10-0, and Lamar was able to kind of bring the team back, and he did it passing and running, which we haven't really seen Lamar really do that much passing the ball. Um, Coming in this week, Baltimore, or going into the playoffs, I thought there were four teams that could win the Super Bowl, and not really in any particular order. Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Green Bay. And I think that it's very fortunate for Kansas City that they don't have to go through both Buffalo and Baltimore to make it to the Super Bowl. If Pittsburgh won that game, then they would have to go through both Baltimore and Buffalo possibly to make the Super Bowl, which I think helps Kansas City's chances coming in or for the playoffs to go at least go back to the Super Bowl.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'll say with the Buffalo game, you're right. Indy's defense definitely stifled them early on, and you could tell that Josh Allen was visibly frustrated on the sidelines in the first half. And I had thought if they could do that, sort of like punch him in the mouth, that could be their ticket to getting a win in that game. And it looked like it was going to happen. And then things they kind of fell a little apart a little bit in the second half. And then Rivers had his chance at the end, and he just couldn't make it happen. I mean, hey, he tried. It just didn't work out, and it doesn't always work out like that. But they did get away with that fumble, like you said. With the Tennessee Baltimore game, hey, I was basically banking on Vrabel getting him again because it just seems like he's had their number. And honestly, I thought they were going to do it until Lamar had that crazy freaking run, man. And
Yeah.
that was like the momentum had totally freaking changed. And from there on, it was like, yep, Baltimore's fucking the confidence was through the roof. Everybody was having a good time, and Tennessee just couldn't fucking get composed, and that was it, man. And Tennessee's offense, geez, I mean, what they hold Derrick Henry to like 40 fucking yards or something. I mean, dude, it was impressive. This is like the time Derrick Henry makes his hay, man, and they shut his ass down. And then Tannehill, he had a rough day too. The one game that I didn't get to catch at first, but I saw some of the replay was the Pittsburgh Cleveland game. And man, I did not see that coming like, by a freaking mile. And that one, big time kudos to you for being the contrarian because nobody was picking Cleveland. I mean, with the coach being out, Batonio being out, I mean, they had everything stacked against them. And that game was like the perfect storm for Pittsburgh, man. They came out, uh, they had that bad snap from Pouncey, totally swung momentum. And then Roethlisberger had that like little, just like over the line, just kind of like a little bit of a dump pass, and it was just a little too high, went right into the defender, and it was like honestly, like from there, it was like you could already tell that it was over for Pittsburgh. And they later in not in the first half, but in the second half, finally started clawing their way back, but it didn't matter, man. It was too late. The hole was way too deep at that point, and Cleveland was riding high that whole freaking game, man.
Yeah. Well, I thought the game was still in contention for Pittsburgh until I think it was in the third quarter when Pittsburgh had like a 4th and 3 at the 50-yard line, and they chose to punt the ball. Like they were coming back, they were starting to get some momentum, and then they punted the ball and got like a net 25 yards on it, and that was right there. That was the nail in the coffin. You got to go for that. Your team's starting to roll again. You got to go get the first down and not just give the ball back to them. Your defense was not playing that good that in the game. I mean, it's obvious they put up almost 50 points on your defense, and you have to have a little bit of gumption to go for it in those games when your team's rolling, and that's when I knew Pittsburgh for sure wasn't going to win it. And going into the game, the way I looked at it is Pittsburgh had in the last 4 weeks of the season, they had one good half of football, one good quarter really of football, and that was in the Indy game, and then they sat them the week after, which I said was a mistake.
Yep.
I mean, first of all, if you don't sit them, you could have knocked Cleveland out of the playoff contention.
Yep.
By beating them in week 17. Secondly, you have to have some kind of confidence that your team is not a fluke. That quarter's not a fluke the way your team had been playing. So I thought, and then on the other side, with everyone saying, well, Cleveland has no chance, like I was on Cleveland like 1,000% going into the game before all the COVID stuff, and I was like, I don't know if all this COVID stuff matters. I don't know if missing the head coach matters. I think they've been playing solid. I think there was a little concern, but I thought they had been playing pretty solid football. And Stefanski obviously brought in people that know his system and that he trusts, because Baker had one of his best games of his career in his first playoff game.
Yeah, hey, I was happy for the Browns, man. They were a team. I might have said it last week, but they were one of these teams that I wanted to win. I just didn't see them having a chance of hell of getting it. And now that they got it, hey, that's great. Let's see if they can do it again. But yeah, it's a good story, man. It's definitely a good story. All right, so the one game that we didn't touch on yet was the New Orleans-Chicago game, and that's one that I watched bits and pieces of as it was going on, and that was tough, man. I mean, the Saints, whether it was the Bears defense playing well or what, to me, it seemed like they should have put up some more points in that game because they got the ball a lot, man. Up until the fourth quarter, Chicago's offense did like jack shit in that game.
Mm-hmm. So this, and the only entertaining part about the Saints game was the Nickelodeon broadcast.
And I missed that, but tell me about it. How'd that turn out, man?
I mean, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, it's geared towards kids and trying to get kids interested in football, but like the
slime zone in the end zone,
the slime zone, and stuff like the little change in the graphics. And I really liked how what's his name? Not Noah Eagle, the other guy, Burleson. I really liked how Burleson, like his explanation for the kids, he would liken it to something in a Nickelodeon show.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that's good. That's good. I didn't know
And
Burleson was doing that, but that's good. I know he's gotten big on that scene, so that's cool, man. Good for him.
I think it was Burleson. Burleson's on the CBS, the pregame on CBS, right?
Well, I know he's on Good Morning Football, and
It's not Burleson. I'm wrong on that.
okay.
It, it's
Well, see,
I'll, I'll
I missed the Nickelodeon deal, but that's cool. Either way, man, I like that they're trying to bring in the younger crowd because, a couple of years ago when there was all that talk about the ratings going down, you had to wonder, man, was this next generation gonna be into football or not? Because it kind of seemed like we might have been the last of that breed, man. It was a little bit weird. And honestly, a lot of the younger people I talk to, if they don't play football, they don't care about watching it at all, man. And so, just that's times change sometimes.
yeah. I'll
All
I'll
right,
have
while
to
you look that
plug it.
up, I'll move us over to our next segment here. And when you're ready, you can pop it back in. But so that was the recap of this past week. Let's move on. We'll talk about our game picks and we'll do a playoff bet update. Basically, in terms of the playoff bet, here's where we stand. Last week, like I said, you crushed it. You nailed 5 out of 6 of the games. And with the way that you assigned your points to those games, you're sitting at 20 points overall after the wild card weekend. I sucked it up and I only hit 3 out of 6 of the games. And with my assigned points, I'm sitting at 12. And so here we are, 1 week into the playoffs, and I'm kind of already feeling like you did probably around week 13 of the regular season, where you felt like the hole was starting to get deep. And hey, it's if I got to start swinging for the fences, I'll do it because we got a huge bet here. I got the regular season, which was nice. I would love to double down, but if I don't, that's $100 towards a bottle of whiskey heading your way. And so, it's not the end of the world, but we'll see what happens here. All right, so that was our playoff bet situation. Oh, and by the way, I guess we can talk more about this later. But thank you for the Widow Jane, which we have agreed will be the prize for the regular season. And Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about our picks for the divisional playoff weekend on
Before we
set.
get to that, it was Burleson.
Oh, it was Burleson.
I was
Nice.
right. So
Yeah,
I
so
just thought it was entertaining.
he's moonlighting, man. He's moonlighting with different yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, well, he does the NFL Today, and a couple weeks ago, like week 15 or 16, he actually hosted the NFL Today, the pregame on CBS because uh, Brown had close contact with somebody that had COVID, so he couldn't be in studio.
Okay.
And I thought he did a good job then too. So I think he's pretty talented, and it was I just liked how he kind of compared and gave that analysis where he's like it's like when SpongeBob does this.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes it easy to get the kids to understand.
Exactly.
Okay. So, looking at the games for this weekend, we'll start with Saturday. We got the number 6 Los Angeles Rams at the number 1 Green Bay Packers. You kind of already let the cat out of the bag here that you're going with the Packers. Why don't you give me your rundown and then I'll give you mine.
So this game's an interesting game to me. Like the Rams defense is they're the eighth team in the last 25 years to lead the league in total defense, scoring defense, passing defense. 5 of the previous 7 went to the Super Bowl, and 4 of those 5 won the Super Bowl. And I don't know how, but this is only the second time the Rams and the Packers are meeting in the playoffs.
Hmm. Okay.
Like you had all those like good Rams, all those good Packers back in the 60s, 70s, whatever, but they only met one time in the playoffs, which
Yeah.
I thought was strange.
Yeah, because you had the Mark Bulger, Kurt Warner era with the
Yeah,
Rams, and like I mean, I don't know, was that at the end of the Brett Favre and the start of the Aaron Rodgers era? You would think that they would have been crossing paths all the time. Yeah.
yeah. So I just you would think they would cross paths all the time, but and for some reason, like the previous one, it was like 75 or 66. Like it was a long time ago. And when they didn't do home field by record.
Okay.
So the 11 1 and 2 Rams had to play at the 10 and 4 Green Bay Packers, which was weird, but and it wasn't even in Green Bay, it was in Milwaukee. It was the
Okay.
week before it was the week before the Ice Bowl.
Ah, yeah, old
So
school.
obviously Green Bay won the game. Then I think that I have concerns about Jared Goff. I have concerns about um,
Aaron
how
Donald.
Aaron
Oh,
Donald, how healthy
yeah.
he is. I think the way for the Rams to win this game is running the ball, but I don't think you can hold Rodgers down.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta believe Green Bay is going to be prepared that the Rams offense is going to be one-sided. And the run part of the defense has been the weak part this year for sure. But if you know that going in, that you kind of got like the wounded bird, like you can adjust and, maybe that helps you in the game plan. Um, I, you know, I was shocked, man. And I told you before the show that my model ended up having the Rams by like .07 points in this matchup. And that was with me discounting Goff for the injury and Aaron Donald for the injury. And like, I mean, I don't know, like I could talk both ways about it because you got the whole defense wins championships, like you're saying. But then you also have the fucking Green Bay plays phenomenal at Lambeau. And I mean, there's like a good narrative both ways here. And I think that the narrative definitely favors Green Bay. But, I'm going with the Rams in this one. And I'm, I'm not totally confident. So, uh, I'm only assigning 3 points to this matchup. But I'm banking on the Rams defense being the real deal and carrying them through this game.
Yeah, I could easily see that happening. I had this game as a close one too, but when I looked at my other games, I couldn't. I mean, it ends up being by 5 this
Okay.
week, based on the other games, because it's just how close the other games are that I'm
Yeah.
picking.
Yeah. That's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I hear
Yeah,
you. Oh,
exactly.
all right. Well, here, let's move on to the next one. So we got the number 5 Baltimore Ravens at the number 2 Buffalo Bills.
It's another really good game. Um, you have Buffalo who blitzes more than anybody in the league. I'm sorry, Baltimore blitzes more than anybody in the league. You have Josh Allen, who's the most efficient QB against the blitz this season, and also has thrown 19 of his TDs were against blitzes.
Damn, I didn't know that. Whew.
So you have that factor, and you have Buffalo's played so last week. I thought Baltimore looked really good last week. But what it boiled down to me on this one is I had this matchup in Baltimore coming into the year, and I had Buffalo winning this game. I just thought Buffalo was a a better team coming into the year. I think they're a better team. I think now that the pressure's off for first playoff win in 25 years or whatever it was, and I think I think the pressure's off now for Buffalo, and I think the pressure's still on on Baltimore, because now the narrative is for Lamar Jackson. I've heard it all week is, oh well, you only won one playoff game.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit more pressure on Baltimore. Baltimore's defense is more geared towards stopping the run, I think, which Buffalo doesn't really run the ball. So I think it's going to be high scoring, but I think Buffalo is going to pull out the win on it, and I'm assigning 4 points to it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and if you looked at if you looked at Baltimore's defense last year, they had one of the top secondaries. But this year, it is a good point. They've been banged up. They've not been the same unit. Um, I'm going with the Ravens in this one, and the way it worked out for me is that my model originally had Buffalo winning this game. And then I looked at the weather and I see there's, about a 50-50 chance that weather could be a factor. And my model has an option. If I think weather is going to be a factor, I can build it in as a variable. And when I did that, it actually favored Baltimore. Maybe because they run more, like you're saying. Buffalo is more of a passing team, and so that gave them the edge in my model, which is ultimately why I'm choosing them. But it's tough. Like I look back at the last time Baltimore had a nasty weather game, and they got upset by the Patriots. And so I just kind of look at them though, like the last month or so, the Ravens, you can tell they've gotten back to their roots of these past couple years of being a dominant running team. And it makes me a little bit nervous with the win against Tennessee because we know their secondary is highly suspect. I mean, their defense is highly suspect. With Buffalo, though, for all the talent they have on that defense, they've been very skittish this year. Some games they look great, some games they look like shit. To me, I think what it comes down to is, can Baltimore come out of the gate and punch them in the mouth just like Indy did last week? If they can, I think Baltimore can win this game where Indy faltered. If not, I agree with you. Josh Allen, I'm sure he's at like an all-time high with confidence because he got that notch on the belt, getting that win last week, and it's going to be a little bit more smoother sailing for him unless Baltimore comes out real hard and slows him down and gets him frustrated like we saw in the first half last week. And so, real quick, I'm just pulling up my thing. I put 5 points on the Ravens for this one. I got to go big, man. I'm already starting to throw my Hail Mary. That's how big you got to head out this last week, man. It's this new playoff twist that you came up with, James. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm starting to feel like you pulled the rug out for me a little bit. Uh, all right.
Well, I mean, part of it was the game I got wrong last week was my 1 point game.
Yeah.
So I basically got all the possible points I could.
No, I'm just playing around. I mean, hey, it's like the regular season, man. Every week, you got these games that you think are going to go one way. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I like the new twist with the way that we're assigning points to it. And I was already thinking that for next year, maybe we'll do a version of this for the regular season where maybe we don't do it for every game because that'd be like a fucking nightmare to figure out. But maybe we pick like our top game of the week or something where we're like, I'm locking this as like a guaranteed win, and you get a couple more points for it or something, or you pick like an upset of the week, or that's neither here nor there. We'll come back to that, but I like what you did. I'm just poking at you. All right, moving over to Sunday, we got the number 6 Cleveland Browns at the number 1 Kansas City Chiefs.
This game kind of concerns me a little bit. I think there's a path for Cleveland to win this game. That path is you have one of the better defenses in the league and really getting after Mahomes. Last time Baker Mayfield and Mahomes played a game against you, maybe not the last time, but one of the times they played in college against each other, they put up it was something like 1,300 passing yards in that game. and it was, I forget the score to the game, but it was like 60-50,
Okay.
or it was
Yeah,
something
some
ridiculous.
insane game. Yeah, all offense,
Yeah,
which is
all
basically,
offense.
well, I
Is
guess, yeah,
is a
I guess I
different.
can't say it's all offense in this game because Cleveland's defense is a little bit respectable. Kansas
Right.
City's defense, they're hit and miss. I mean, it all depends. Like Spags, he's been good with their defense, but they definitely have had games where they've been exposed. So it's,
Yeah, and the way for Cleveland to win this game is you go run heavy, you
you shorten the game by doing that,
shorten the
definitely.
game, keep Mahomes on the sidelines. Uh, Kansas City's defense is suspect, and they're susceptible to the run. I can't pick against Kansas City, and but it's just there's a path for Cleveland. This Cleveland team is legit,
Yeah.
and there's a path for them to win. What gave it the edge to Kansas City was Andy Reid off of a bye, um, playoffs and
Oh, he's
regular
like
season.
phenomenal coming off a bye. I think you
He's
told us that in the regular season.
Yeah, he's 8-3 coming off the bye.
Oh man, I don't know. I guess I thought it was better than that, but
Well,
for all the
that's
years
what
that he's been a head coach,
that might be that. No, that's just with the Chiefs.
okay.
8-3 with the Chiefs coming
Huh.
off of a bye, regular season or playoffs. Um, but I just don't think Cleveland can find that magic again they had last week, because it took a little bit of that magic last week to beat Pittsburgh.
It
You
did,
had
yeah.
all those fluke plays, and you had Roethlisberger throw what, four interceptions, five interceptions, whatever it was.
Yeah, and they had that
So
fumble too. I mean, it was a
yeah,
shitload of turnovers, man.
exactly. So, and Kansas City, I
They
don't
play
think
smart football.
they play smart football. They're getting Hilaire back. Yeah, they haven't played a meaningful game in 3 weeks, but I still think Kansas City's going to win this game, and it's going to be my 6 point game.
Gotcha. So I'm going with the Chiefs in this one as well. But I agree with you. There is a path, however faint it is, that Cleveland could win. I mean, we saw it earlier in the year when the Raiders beat the Chiefs. It can happen. It definitely can happen. And I think that Cleveland is built to hang in games like this if they play to their strength, which, like you said, is run the shit out of the ball, control the clock, shorten the game, keep Mahomes on the sideline, but you have to be ultra effective and efficient where, like, every drive you're getting points because you know it's a high probability Mahomes is going to do the same. And so it's basically you're like going tit for tat all the way to the end. And if you lose a step, that could be it. You fall out. And so, yeah, I would love to see I'd love to see the Browns do it. I just don't think it can happen. And so I'm going with Kansas City, and I'm giving it a 4 for my points for this week. Um, but good luck to them, man. I'd love to see Cleveland make a run, man. I mean, and we'll actually talk about that later. That's something I got coming up at the end of the show here. Okay, so next up, we got our last matchup for the week is the number 5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the number 2 New Orleans Saints.
This matchup, it's my 3 point matchup. I'm gonna say that. Um, I'm obviously not very confident in my pick. If you look at Bruce Arians as Tampa Bay head coach, is 0-4 against the Saints. Five of the last seven chances to beat a team a third time in a single season. 5 times the team that was trying to win the third time won. Everyone says, "Oh, it's hard to beat a team 3 times." I had it a little bit higher. I think the
Well,
set
yeah,
you
that contradicts what I heard. It was like 20 and 12 or something in the
Yeah,
playoffs. Yeah.
2012. Well, I'm just talking about the last 7 times. 5 of the
Yeah,
last
but
seven
that's what
times.
matters. We're looking at recent history as the most important.
Yeah. And like even if you go with the 20 and 12, I think that was at 63%, which I thought I had heard it was 66%
Okay.
over whatever history it was. So, I mean, either way, everything's stacked. Those outside stats are stacked against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Now, when comes down to this game, they're getting some defensive. Tampa Bay's getting some defensive pieces back. They're getting I believe Barrett, and let me double check because I think Barrett was out against Washington. Um, yeah, he's not on listed on the injury report. They have a defensive tackle out. Robert Jones is questionable for the game, but Taysom Hill questionable. Traquan Smith went on injured reserve. Latavius Murray's questionable for the Saints, and Clapp's questionable. So what I look at is the last time they played, it was what 33-3 or whatever ridiculous score that was.
Yeah, they had a close one early on, and then it was a blowout. And yeah,
But since then,
Tampa
this
Bay's
Tampa
been
Bay
rolling, man.
offense has been clicking.
Yeah.
It's been clicking. I was not impressed. I haven't been impressed all year how Drew Brees has looked. I talked about it like a million times that Drew Brees can't throw the ball, and I think Brady is playing Brady-esque,
Hmm. I
and
mean,
that's why I'm.
yeah, he's gotten that connection back with Antonio Brown, and it looks like Mike Evans is going to be all clear for this game. I mean, there's definitely a lot going in their favor offensively in this game.
There is, but I don't see Evans as a factor in this game.
Although
Even when
I,
I
yeah, although I
look at
guess I will say Ronald Jones is a game time decision. The last I heard, I mean, hey, it helps they got Leonard Fournette coming off the bench,
yeah,
but yeah, and I'll let you finish up. Sorry, I don't mean to
so
cut you off like that.
I don't see Evans as a factor in this game, and there's been 72 times over the past 3 games between these two teams that Marshawn Lattimore has lined up across from
Yeah, and he shuts him
Mike Evans.
down.
He shuts him down. He has 0 receptions in 72 routes, only 6 targets. He just
Hey,
shuts his ass down.
Antonio
I see,
Brown could be the X factor. Central
that's what
Michigan. Oh,
that's where I was going with it.
I would love that. You know, I love seeing those Central guys light it up, man.
So, and Antonio Brown has scored a touchdown in the last 4 games this year. I see Antonio Brown scoring 2 to 3 touchdowns
Oh shit.
in this game. I think that it's a close game, 7 points, but I see Tampa Bay winning this game. I had this matchup as the conference championship game coming into the season. I had it at Tampa Bay, not at New Orleans, but I still am going with Tampa Bay to win the game.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, hey, I'm going with the Saints here, and like this is tough because I told you earlier, my model has been favoring the Saints all year, and no matter what I do to discount them, my model is still showing them as like such a fucking stacked roster, and so I'm taking the Saints, and I'm giving them a 6 for the points. The 6 for the points. It's not because I'm desperate, which obviously you know I am already, but it's because I have the widest margin of victory in this game out of all the four this weekend, which for all the things you're saying, it makes no sense, James. It makes no sense. But I've stuck by my model for the vast majority of the time throughout this whole year, and that's basically what I'm doing now. I did read a guy just the other day that basically said hey, say what you want about the Saints. The only thing that really matters is the last 4 weeks. And the last 4 weeks, Tampa Bay has been dominant. And so, this one could definitely blow up in my face, man. It could blow up in my face in a major way. Uh, you know, we were talking just last week about, oh, hey, maybe it'd be cool to see Phillip Rivers ride off into the sunset and get some action in the playoffs or whatever. I'd love to see Breeze go out on a high note and win one. I mean, he already won one, but win one and retire. Like that's like solidify your Hall of Fame career, and you go off, and now you can be a commentator or whatever the hell you're going to do. And I know that doesn't mean jack shit for this game, but at the end of the year, here's what I will say. The last like 4 or 5 weeks of the year, the Saints defense was lights out. And they had a week in there where there was like a blip on the radar where they sucked. If they can get like that again, and then Breeze can be efficient on offense, he doesn't have to be dominant. He just has to be smart like he normally is and be efficient. They can control this game. But it's Brady's looking damn good too, man. And so, I don't know. I'm going with the model. It burned me last week, but I kind of have no choice here. So that's all I got to say about that. And that's it for you too. So okay, I
Yeah,
guess let's yeah.
yeah, I think that's all I have. I'm interested interested because I'm not picking that many upsets this week, and I tend to, and if anything, tend to have more upsets than you.
Yeah, this feels like an opposite of what normally happens. But the
Yeah,
crazy thing is that my model is picking it this way, and your gut is picking it this way for you. And so it's like, wow, like we've like totally inverted in this particular week.
yeah, which is
Uh,
weird for us.
for everything. And so I don't
Yeah.
know. Hey, maybe this is my chance to get back in it. Who knows? We'll find out. Um, all right, so let's move on here and let's do question of the week, James. And my question for this week, it probably would have been a lot better last week since the playoffs started last week. But hey, we're here now, and so I'm doing it now. We're at the divisional round, 8 teams left in the playoffs. Many people are favoring either the Chiefs or the Bills to win it all. And then I've heard Green Bay is kind of like the third team in the running that has a chance. And so this is a two-part question. First, I want to know who you think is going to win, and then I want to know who you want to win. And I want to make that distinction because they're two very different things. Who you think is going to win, like for me, I look at my model and I put it in there and I say, oh, well, the model says this. And then in my mind, I say, well, geez, I would love to see these guys do it for my own personal reasons of XYZ. And so for I'll just kick it off like I always do and answer it. Looking at who I think can win or will win. Like I said, a lot of people are expecting the Chiefs. They're saying their offense is just too dominant, and nobody can slow them down enough to get a win over them. Other people are going to look at the Bills and say that, well, geez, they got a pretty electric offense, and they're also pretty damn solid on defense. So they're probably the best all around team left. And so that's fine. But like I said, I put it all in my model. And in this particular case, I was shocked uh, to see, at least initially, my model had the Bills beating the Packers. And then as the week went on, I updated everything for all the COVID changes and weather factors and whatever else. And holy shit, James, it flipped the model completely. And so I've got Baltimore beating Buffalo this weekend, and now my model has Kansas City against New Orleans in the Super Bowl, and it's got fucking New Orleans winning by less than a point. And so that's what my model says. And so that's who I think is going to win because I try to go off of some kind of science. For the second part of the question, I would have loved it if Rivers made a little bit of a run and retired because honestly, he's one of those guys that his whole career, solid quarterback, solid stats, and his team was just like snake bitten every year. Injuries, bad luck, things like that. But, I didn't ask the question last week, and they're out of it this week. So when I look at the teams remaining, I'm basically torn between the Browns and the Rams. And it's like this: the Rams, I want to see them go all the way because I love defense, man. And defense wins championships. And the shit they did last week against Russell Wilson got me fucking excited. And so I'm like, oh man, I like that. But on the other hand, I look at the Browns and I'm like, man, these motherfuckers went into Pittsburgh and they beat the Steelers. Nobody thought they had a shot in hell with all the COVID stuff and everything going on. And then I also kind of look at them and I'm like, man, comparing them to like the Lions, these are two beaten down franchises that have sucked year after year after year after year. And Cleveland is finally getting over that hump. And so, because of that, Cleveland is the team I want to see to win. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's just my take on that, James. What do you think, man?
So, as I said, I thought that there were two teams that or four teams that had a shot coming into the playoffs. You had Baltimore, you had Kansas City, Green Bay, and Buffalo. Those were the teams that I thought could win who could win the Super Bowl coming into the playoffs. Of those teams, the team that I thought would win the Super Bowl coming into the season was Kansas City. I mean, they're just that good.
Yeah, but what about today? You've seen the whole season to date. People have gotten hurt. Things have changed. Like who do you think is going to win it based off of everything you know right now?
Well, I still think the same thing. I think Kansas City is just they're
They're
kind
still
of
the top
flying.
dog. Yeah, they're still the top
They're
dog, man.
kind of flying under the radar. They look like they were bored in the playoffs. Um, I'm trying to look it up because you mentioned uh, Cleveland, and I was looking up when the last time they won a championship was, which obviously was
Oh, like
pre
Otto
Super.
Graham back in like the fucking, I don't know, way back
Bowl.
when.
It apparently was 1964.
Yeah, long time ago. Tell me,
They
tell me, Otto Graham was the quarterback.
um no.
Well, yeah, I know he
Frank
was like one of their best players ever, but
Frank Ryan was.
okay. Well, hey, you can't win them all.
Yeah, you can't win all. Anyways, so I think Kansas City, there's a path for any of these teams to lose.
Yeah,
Or I just think Kansas City in the playoffs, they do special things. If you think about it, in his career, Patrick Mahomes is 4-1 so far in the playoffs.
yeah, and he's
The
had some
one,
huge come from behind wins, man. The guy has been so clutch.
yeah, the one loss that Patrick Mahomes had, he won that game if was it Peters wasn't offsides.
I'm trying to remember.
But anyways, they stopped Brady on fourth
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
and then but there was an offsides.
You're talking about Marcus Peters or cornerback at the time?
Oh, no, then it wasn't Peters. It was uh, hell, I don't remember.
Well, hey, either way, yeah. So it's impressive. And so you think they're the top team. Who do you want to win? Do you want the Chiefs to win? Do you want one of these other teams to win?
Well,
I
I'm
mean, you
kind
got
of
you got your hometown Los Angeles Rams, man. Like you go for that's kind of like your home team, right? You like those guys or what?
I'm kind of torn on it. Like, yeah, I would like the Rams to win the game.
So you can go partying in the streets?
Well, I'm not talking go partying in the streets, but it's just I think that sorry, I'm distracted because it's bugging me who was offsides.
That's cool.
Anyways, I think that I would love the Rams to win. I would love for Breeze to win and then retire with the championship. I but what it boils down to is I want to see Buffalo win the Super Bowl. I remember back in the early '90s where they went to the fourth straight
Oh, yeah.
and didn't didn't win, and they had they had the wide right and all that heartbreak. But I kind of in the early '90s was becoming a little bit against the or a little bit of a Buffalo fan because
You felt
I
bad
mean
for them. They were
I
so
felt bad
good and
for
they
them.
just couldn't get it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I
This is like their story to make them whole. It's like, hey, you finally got it. Bring it home.
e-
Like,
e-
man, you're there.
exactly. Plus, I heard an interview of Josh Allen. I just really like Josh Allen. I've been
Yeah.
high on him all year, but I heard an interview with him this week or last week, and the Bills fans have a tendency of at tailgates jumping through tables.
Oh yeah, the Bills Mafia, man, they go crazy,
Yeah,
man.
and so you have that, and on top of that, well, anyways, so they have the jumping through table thing. Josh Allen was asked if the Bills won the Super Bowl, would he jump through a table? And his response was yes, but you have to light it on fire too. And I think that would just be sweet to see.
Yeah, and honestly, if that happened, if Buffalo went all the way, you now have like the Chiefs superpower and the Bills superpower, and it's like you're talking like some massive freaking rivalry stuff going on for years to come, man. Like 10 plus freaking years. You got two stud quarterbacks, two solid teams and coaches that are like arguably going to be fighting it out every single year for however many years now.
Okay, so it was D Ford was offsides.
Okay.
Brady threw an interception, but D Ford was offsides, and on the next play, Brady threw a 25-yard pass to Gronkowski to get to the 4-yard line, and then New England scored this 2 plays later, basically after D Ford's offsides. And if it weren't for that D Ford offsides, um, Kansas City was up. What's that? 28-24. So you had the interception,
Yeah.
and then New England had scored with 39 seconds left in the game, and then won the coin toss and for overtime, and drove the field and won.
Gotcha.
That
All
was a
right,
great.
so yeah, so you think the Chiefs are going to win it, but you want Buffalo to win it. That's cool. Anybody who's still watching, please share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. We definitely want you to play our Name That Stadium game, but you're also free to answer our question of the week. Tell us who you think is going to win, but also who you want to win. Everybody's a different fan of a different team, and you look at it from different angles, and we want to know what's going on out there. So that's pretty much all I got for tonight, James. Anything you want to wrap it up with?
No, I think it hit all my points. I think there's paths that all what 8 teams left or whatever it is. Yeah, 4 games, 8 teams.
They've
I
all
think
got a shot, man. Yeah.
they've all got a shot. I think it should be a good, interesting, entertaining weekend of football.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, hey, so for people that are watching, if you liked it, hey, that's cool. hit us up with the thumbs up or shoot us some comments. And if you really liked us, hit that subscribe button. We are now putting this onto Facebook as well, which we'll figure out how to get all that going soon. But James, it was cool, man. I will catch up with you later. Everybody, I hope you guys have a good night, and let's get some good football this weekend.
No, sounds good.
All right, man. See ya.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.